Welcome back. Well, this should be Project Sunday, but it's a little too damp here to work on furniture refinishing projects, which usually don't do really well in damp weather. So I thought we would go back and take a look at some of the other stuff I got at my last Bedford trip. And this particular set of purchases I'm going to show you today includes one, the most expensive item I got, and two, the one I think is the greatest value. So, when we come back, well, as you saw last time, I'm sure, I got a lot of stuff from Janine's booth. She turns her stock frequently, but as I mentioned the last time I did a video about Bedford, I hadn't been there for a while. So, as a consequence, everything had been turned, and I, I had trouble getting off the first floor. You know, I like to start on the second and work my way down, but oh, everybody had goodies. So, when I went over to Janine's booth, found all those salt and pepper shakers, I also found something else really nice. And of course, it's exactly the sort of piece that appeals to me. So let's take a look. So just as I thought I was through with Janine's booth, this caught my eye. $5 hand-painted ashtray, rather shaped like a sugar or flour scoop. Really pretty piece. And you know, I love these hand-painted pieces. And this one is blueberries. $5, artist initials on the back. So, yes, it's coming with me. And now we're going to see if I can get away from Janine's booth without anything more to distract me. That little hand-painted dish is just so sweet. And it's an ashtray because the little stem on the leaf is a depression where you would put your cigarette. But I just don't see using them for ashtrays. Ashtrays are something that I see a lot. As I've mentioned, I'm sure I've mentioned this many times, in the mid-century, 50% of the households in America had at least one smoker. So if you walked into a home, 50-50 chance somebody was smoking there. Now, of course, the habit has fallen out of fashion, I suppose to say the least. But we are seeing some beautiful pieces of porcelain because people, well, when you smoke, when you put out nuts, whatever you do, if you have a nice household, a well-decorated home, you're going to want pretty things in it. And that extended absolutely to the ashtrays. The great thing about ashtrays, of course, is those little depressions where you would rest your cigarette can hold chopsticks, they can hold paintbrushes, they can hold anything, they can hold nothing at all. And so an ashtray of 50 years ago is very easily a trinket tray or a candy dish today. Regardless, of course, I love these hand-painted pieces. They were done by amateur artists, almost always women, who were bored and sitting around the house and, well, they had nothing better to do, so they painted stuff. And the thing that impresses me is you see these pieces and some of them are so beautifully executed. And you just look at this and say, this was not a professional artist. Now, how is it that this woman was not working in a china shop or a portrait studio or heaven only knows what else? Because the work is so nice. So, when I saw that piece, and that was $5, I believe I mentioned it in the filming. $5, so absolutely, it will come home with me, and that will go into my Etsy shop, and someone will buy a beautiful piece of original art at a very good price. And that's one of the things I really love about these pieces. A dozen people could have taken the same china blank and painted it, but the one I have is not like the other dozen. The one that you have is not like the other dozen. It's a beautiful piece of original art. Oh, antique original art. So, hey, can't beat that. Not for $5 anyway. So, when I left Janine's shop and started making my way laboriously to the second floor, I couldn't help but stop by another booth because I wanted to get some film of something that I didn't buy, but I want to show it to you. So here we go. So let's take a look at this. Let me back up so I can get it all in the frame. These two frames, one is a photograph, one is a painting, which I believe is painted reverse glass. This is something I want you to see because around the turn of the century, actually probably a little earlier, this was a very popular style, an oval frame, and this glass is convex in both cases. If you can see the way the reflection of the fluorescent lights is bending, you can tell. Nice rounded glass. This was remarkably popular, and of course this is one of those things that if you have a piece like this and you break the glass, you will have to look far and wide to get a replacement because they just don't make it like this anymore. Very interesting pieces, not coming home with me, but I did want you to see it. This one is $85 and the two little children are $100. These picture frames, and at the turn of the century, they were everywhere. I believe the trend started about 1860 or 1870 and went right in through the early 20th century, very early 20th. By 1920, this was not something you would see anymore. And they have some features that are the same with all of them. It was an oval frame with oval glass, and the glass was convex. It bowed outward. Remember, the rule on that is if convex is out, concave is in, because you would walk into a cave. That's the little mnemonic I use. So this is convex glass. Really interesting. And the other interesting thing is, in general, it does not distort the portraits. I've seen a lot of pictures, photographs, portraits that were under convex glass. And, you walk around and say, well, I can see there's a curve to the glass. Is this going to distort the picture? And you walk around to view it from all different angles. Still just looks the same. So I'm not sure why they did it. I'm sure they had some purpose for it. But whatever it is, I haven't been able to detect it visually. Now, I know some of you are laughing. It's like, yeah, Sue, you read Braille. What are you going to detect visually? Well, if there's something by the way, if you've noticed something visually about that, let me know, because whatever it is, I'm missing out on it. And so I have just been assuming there is no visual benefit to be gained by this, except that, it looks nice. These are still around. In general, you see them with photographs. And I have nothing against going into an antique store, buying a photograph of some old man in a nice frame, hanging it on the wall, and saying, "That's Uncle Charlie." I had one of those for many years. It just happened to be a really nice frame and a really interesting old man holding a cigar. And I used to say, "Yeah, that's Uncle Charlie." Nobody ever questioned it. They probably should have, frankly, because I was making it up. But you can get some gorgeous, gorgeous frames, and you can put whatever you want in them. So keep that in mind. But I did want you to see that because it was a particular kind of frame, a particular kind of glass that was very popular in the late Victorian era that we just don't see anymore. Oh, and by the way, as I mentioned when I was filming, you break the glass, you are in trouble because they don't make it. All right, next up. Oh, this is a follow-up. A few weeks ago, I was at Bedford. Actually, you know what? It was probably more like 2 months ago. I was at Bedford. I saw a beautiful Art Deco chocolate set, and I was really tempted. The thing that stopped me was I don't drink chocolate. I don't serve chocolate. And I have a really nice Rose Canton tea set. One of these days, I'm going to have to find a coffee pot because I don't even drink much tea. On the other hand, these days, my coffee comes out of one of those little pod machines. Don't need a pot for that. Yeah, entertaining is really different. And trust me, these days, the china that grandma used, most of the stuff we're looking at saying, "Yeah, I'm not sure what I'd do with that." But back to the chocolate set. Beautiful. It was there. So I took a closer look, and I want to share this with you. And a postscript to a previous shopping video. Remember this beautiful Art Deco Nippon chocolate set? Well, when I found it was still here, and it is $79, I thought, oh, we have to take a closer look at this because maybe. So let me show you why it's not coming home with me. Can you see that little painted in divot? That is a chip that someone has apparently attempted to paint over without doing a repair. It's one of the reasons you have to look pieces like this over very carefully. For $79, a damaged piece is not coming home with me, but I am disappointed because I had thought, it's still here. That must mean it's meant to be mine. But I'm afraid not. Yeah, damage. And this is one of the things that I dislike anywhere. If I go into any shop, it doesn't matter if it's an antique shop, doesn't matter if it's a modern shop, but ordinarily you see it in antique shops, not thrift stores, interestingly enough. When you can tell that an item has been damaged, someone has made an effort to repair it. In this case, the effort was simply painting out that chip so it was less obvious. At that point, I expect the shop owner to put a note on the tag notifying potential customers of the damage, because I can just imagine someone buying a piece like that, getting it home, finding the chip later, and saying, "I paid $80 for a set with poorly repaired damage." And here's the thing about that sort of poorly repaired damage. It tends to make it look like the shop owner knew the piece was damaged. And then you walk away saying, were they attempting to perpetrate a fraud? That's why I think whenever you sell things, let your buyer know about anything that looks even vaguely suspicious, because your reputation is on the line. So, in retrospect, I'm glad I didn't get it the first day I saw it because I didn't check it out particularly carefully then. I did the last time I was there and saw it, and that's how I noticed the damage. However, given the fact that I was disappointed in not taking that home with me, I went over to another shop which I was passing by on my way to the stairs because I was a woman with a mission. And there, right in front of me, was something I do collect. So let's take a look. Well, I am going to have to work really hard to beat this piece. This is that Chinese stoneware that I like so much. $10. Notice our mark. The China mark is $18.90 to $19.19. So this is an antique piece. Now, these pieces were household pieces. They got used. So I'm running my finger around the edge because they tend to nip and what am I trying to say? Chip and nick. There we go, not nip and chip. My goodness, spoonerisms, how delightful. And notice they have these little floral designs on the underside. That was very, very common. This is a great piece. This is coming home with me. And I can tell you right now, unless I really get super lucky, this is going to be the find of the day. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite kinds of Chinese porcelain. It's stoneware, really. It was designed for ordinary household use. The average family would have eaten a meal off a plate like this. This was not considered fancy porcelain, and it was not like, for example, the rose medallion or rose canton that I do collect, which is fine china. This is not fine china. This is heavy porcelain. And as I'm sure I've mentioned to you, Audie had a plate of this type. Didn't look like this one. And he ended up skittering that right off the counter when he found a mouse, and he was chasing that thing all over the house. I knew he had it, but he was so happy. So I said, okay, fine, chase it for a little while, and then when you corner it, I'll take it away and throw it out. But that little mouse scrambled everywhere. It somehow got up on the kitchen counter. I feed Audie on the kitchen counter. I had to do that when I had a dog, because if the cat food was within the dog's reach, the dog was eating cat food. As it turns out, the dog's food was within the cat's reach, and Audie would go over and steal the dog's food every now and then. And in fact, to this day, I still feed Audie his water out of the dog's bowl because that's the only place he'll drink it from. So, I love these pieces. And when I saw that, $10, starting prices on pieces like this with chips and damage is like $40. Without chips and damage, because you hardly ever see them, I'm thinking, what is the starting price? When was the last time I saw something like this with like zero damage? And I think the last time I saw a piece with absolutely no damage, it was a smaller piece. I bought it. I paid, I think I paid $50 for it, smaller piece. So I would say the starting price on a piece like this with no damage would probably be $60 to $70. And there it is, $10, perfect condition, just staring up at me. And I was like, oh my goodness. Now, I'm not selling it, so I don't really care how much it would fetch on eBay or whatever, because it's going to stay with me. But that was probably the big find of the day up till that point, because that was one of the few pieces that I saw and said, well, this is worth at least 4 or 5 times what I paid for it, which whenever you're buying for resale, that's always a nice margin to find. So that, yeah. But as I say, that is staying with me. Audie currently has a piece of Famille Verte that is in a brass casing, so that if he skitters a mouse across the counter again, I'm hoping that brass will protect his food dish. That piece, by the way, Audie's dish, is a piece with this brass casing around, just around the bottom, and a little divot, because that was how they turned the old porcelain pieces into ashtrays. So Audie's is not an ashtray. Audie's is in fact a cat food dish, and I should have mentioned that's a good use for these ashtrays, because that's what I use for Audie's dish. So anyway, I was delighted by that. That was a wonderful little acquisition. And then no sooner did I end up with that piece when I turned another corner, and just as I turned the corner, oh, it just jumped out at me. This was my most expensive purchase on this trip. No way could I resist it. So let's take a look. So this set caught my eye from across the room. This is an antique Nippon cold drink set. Okay, here's my hand. Look at the size of this pitcher. This is beautiful antique Japanese work, Nippon. The pitcher is fabulous. The price on this is $24. And oh yes, it is over my little self-imposed $10 limit. But there's no way I'm leaving without this. This is a stupendous bargain. So let's talk about checking out a piece like this. The best way to do it is with your hands, because your hands will pick up on flaws that your eyes will miss. So I run my hand around the rim, because that's where we're going to see damage first, especially on the spouts of pitchers. Next thing we check is the handles, because the handles were prone to breakage. And very often you'll find pieces like this, and if the handle has been expertly glued back together, it can be very hard to tell. But when it's glued back together, you have a piece that is always going to have a weakness to it. The glued handle, especially on a piece like this, because it looks to me like that holds at least half a gallon. The weight of that, half a gallon of water is 4 pounds. The weight of something like that being supported by a broken and re-glued handle would just be more than the piece could take. So that's good. I did the same thing with all the cups. Fingers around, make sure nothing is broken, nothing is damaged. Of course, they are all properly marked. So they are coming home with me, because even though they are $24, still the set is worth so much more than that, that it's worth my while to take it home, because there will be a buyer for this. Oh my, yes. That is a Nippon cold drink set. I'm sure originally it had more than merely 4 cups. Nevertheless, to find a set like this with at least 4 cups is, well, it's an amazing find. And yes, $24 is well over my little, everything's going to be under $10. But worth it? Oh my, yes. That piece I am not keeping. That's going into my Etsy shop. But because I got it for only $24, I'm going to be able to put an affordable price tag on this because the rarity of this, you just do not find half-gallon Nippon pitchers. You don't find them. And if you do find them, you certainly don't find little matching drink cups. And if you find them with little matching drink cups, they're not in good condition and they don't have those beautiful Art Deco lines. So it's a great set. I'm going to be able to put it on sale for an affordable price because frankly, ordinarily, they're not affordable. And that's too bad because I want to see these things in somebody's home. I want to see them on the dinner table with the iced tea or, whatever it is you serve out of the pitcher like that. I want to see them back in circulation. So, oh, that was really the star of this trip. Very unexpected find. And I'm just still excited about it. So after that, when I started calming down a little, and after I had safely gotten it up to the register, I went back around the same way. And I did this on the theory that I'd already seen everything that was out there, so nothing else would waylay me and I would get my butt up to the second floor at long last. And I was passing by a little booth that I go into quite often. I find interesting pieces of Asian porcelain there, along with a whole lot of stuff that is of no interest to me. And frankly, a lot of the other stuff I find there, well, I hate to say it, but it's overpriced. And very often I'll look at this and say, how does this happen when a great piece of Asian porcelain is sitting right next to an overpriced, sort of quasi-Hummel figure, and you pick it up and it says Princess House on the bottom? I don't know. So this booth, I don't think of as an antique booth. I think of this booth as a thrift store because that's the kind of thing you do see at thrift stores. Just random modern junk that is of virtually no value. And I'm not kidding when I say, you pick it up and it's got Princess House or Avon or whatever on the bottom of it. And it's really modern. It doesn't belong in an antique store to begin with. And then right next to it is a really sweet find. So in I go, and I did get 2 pieces this time. Very pleased with them. So let's take a look. We come through this little booth rather often, and it's a mixed bag. Sometimes I find some really great stuff. Sometimes I just don't score at all. So let's start with this piece. Napco, which was one of the major Japanese importers in the mid-century. $4, this pheasant planter. There is no damage that I have been able to find. Absolutely coming. Napco imported very, very high-quality items. This one, hand-painted leaf dish. I don't know if you can see this. Right here, the date is 85. And that is not 1985. This is a beautiful 1885 hand-painted leaf dish. I love the way that little leaf curls over. And you know how much I love these terrific hand-painted pieces. They are just incredible works of art, and they were made by ordinary housewives. This is what Victorian women did to amuse themselves. My goodness, such talent. Oh my, yes, another glorious little hand-painted piece. And this one was dated, 1883, I believe. all these pieces, or at least almost all these pieces, are antique to begin with. But it's so nice when it's got the date right on it and somebody can look at this piece and say, wow, this is not just a seller alleging that it's antique. It says right here it's 140 years old. Really nice piece. And I got such a kick out of that one little leaf that was curled over. So cute. Makes a nice little handle for the dish. That was just darling. So I was very thrilled to get that piece. The other piece, our little pheasant planter, I think it's pheasant, might have been a partridge. Napco was one of the better importers in the mid-century. So that piece was early 1960s. That was when Napco was really flourishing in the 50s and 60s. And they brought all kinds of terrific pieces to the U.S. market. If I were going to say there is one Japanese import label that probably crops up more than others, next to Otagiri, I would say Napco. And Otagiri, one of the reasons it crops up so frequently is it had a longer history from the end of the Second World War right through to, I believe, 80s, 90s, when it was purchased by UNESCO, I believe. I have to do my homework on this. I'm no longer pulling out information from the top of my head like I used to. But Napco made home decoration items, all kinds of things. I mean, everything from figurines, planters, wall pockets. I'm trying to think of all of the, well, you name it, they made it. They basically decorated your 1950s, 1960s home for you. Beautiful stuff. That planter, one of the striking things about it was that little Capodimonte style flower. Now, I use that term with caution. Capodimonte pieces came from Capodimonte, Italy. That's all there is to it. So if it's a Capodimonte piece, that's where it came from. Otherwise, it is in the style of Capodimonte. And those are thin little petals. They're curved, beautifully three-dimensional pieces. But the odds of nicks and chips on those flowers are so high. And I was really shocked that this piece had no missing petals. Nothing was broken. Nothing was cracked. Clearly, this is something that sat up on a high shelf in somebody's home and wasn't handled, or if it was not roughly handled. And that is the great thing about the piece, because it's not hard to get 1950s, 1960s home furnishing pieces, but to get them in perfect condition when the pieces, like the little leaves of that flower, are tiny and fragile, getting them with no damage. Boy, that can be a real challenge. And I like them with no damage, really, I do. So, and for $4, now keep in mind, that plate, and they knew it was 1883. They wrote on the tag 1883 on that little candy dish, $4. And you gotta know that it was sitting next to a plate that probably came out of Target 10 years ago that had a price tag of $8 on it. And oh, I love those shops. It's amazing because they have such beautiful things and they have no idea what they're worth. So bless their hearts, whoever they are. I've never met that dealer. I've met a lot of the dealers at Bedford. I've never met that one. But, whatever their issue is, I mean, maybe they have a drinking problem. If so, I will bring them a bottle of liquor and help it along, because I get astounding things there. This is the same little booth. Perhaps you'll recall the last purchases I got from them. A Japanese bowl with a sort of calico pattern, little tiny flowers all over it, and the original rattan handles were in place. I got a Famille Rose brush pot from them, which, by the way, is now living in my kitchen and holding my spoons. I've gotten the most amazing things from these people. And you just say, what's wrong? Do they really not know what they have? I don't know. But I guess from my point of view, I do know what they have. So why should I complain? But I would also say this is the kind of shop you want to look for. You want to go in and see that the stuff that probably came from Target or Woolworth or whatever is just sitting there. You know, you look at it and say, oh, yeah, I remember my cousin Sally had one of those. And yeah, something like that at a nice price, you know, and next to it, what can I say? A hand-painted 1883 candy dish for $4. You find a dealer like that, do what I do. Get back in their shop every chance you get. All right, so that's it for today. Plenty more on this shopping trip. So I got a chance to show you a couple of my favorite purchases from the whole trip, and that was really good. So before we get out of here, I have something that I meant to share with you yesterday, totally forgot. And of course, I'm doing it at the end of the video, so that tells you I almost forgot today. Alison Singleton from the China Repair Studio, and you know, she's done a video for us, so she is a friend of our channel, has put together a course for the teaching, the online teaching service Udemy. That's Udemy. I have a link to Alison's course in my video notes because when I saw the course, and they have a new student discount, and I've never done business with them before, so I'm a new student, at least to them, even though I've been a student all my life. I'll be a student on my deathbed, but they don't know that. New student discount. I signed up for that course for $15. So I would wholeheartedly recommend it. And as I say, I did it myself. This is a course that I really think I could benefit greatly from it. And for $15, I squander $15 without even thinking about it. What a bargain. So I wholeheartedly recommend all of you to go out, take a look at this course, and for $15, my goodness, how can you justify not getting the course? But the reason I want it is, as you know, I do porcelain repair sort of down and dirty. I will be able to repair or buff out porcelain damage. Alison does this at a much higher level than I could ever presume to do it. But I wouldn't mind. I'm not going to be able to acquire her level of skill. You know, that's just, even if I had the time, and by that I mean, given my age, I don't have the years to acquire that level of skill left. Maybe I do. I want to live to be as old as the Queen Mother. That's my goal. Still, if I can improve my skill level to the point where I can equip myself well with porcelain repairs, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And if somebody's going to teach me how for $15, sign me up. So please take a look at that. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. I haven't checked out the course yet. I'm just very excited to do it. And gee, this is the last of my videos for the weekend, which means I have time next week, so I'm going to be able to do that. What an exciting day. All right. I wish you all a wonderful day. I will see you all next week. Well, this week, later this week, for our next little video cycles, which, as you know, starts Thursday night, then runs through the weekends. Meantime, have a great day, everyone, and check out that course on Udemy.